Hi, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Bainbridge here. Thank you so much for taking time to remember the events of September 11 with us and to honor those who lost their lives. We're going to look at some pictures from my trip to New York just a few years ago, where I was able to visit the Memorial Museum for September 11th. It's directly next to the new One World Trade Center, which was built as a symbol of freedom and hope and strength, directly next to where the Twin Towers once stood. So there are two fountains in New York now in the same shape and footprint of those Twin Towers. In the center is a fountain, and surrounding the fountain are the names of those who lost their lives. In the center, there is a huge light beam, and those two light beams shine bright every year on September 11th. As you enter the museum, you see that it's organized in chronological order. And at 8:30 on September 11th, 2001, there was not a cloud in the sky in New York City. You could see the Twin Towers standing tall. Unfortunately, minutes later, that same view was not as picturesque. The museum actually is underground, and so you can see the supports of where the towers once stood. And throughout the museum, there are artifacts collected from Ground Zero. They call Ground Zero the area where the towers fell. Something remaining after the towers fell were these survivor stairs. And as people were walking down the stairs trying to get to safety from the flames, they huddled together in these stairs. And even while the towers crumbled, they were able to survive in this staircase and get out safely eventually when help arrived. However, many others were not able to get out safely, and so their loved ones left missing posters like these around the city, hoping that their loved one would turn up eventually. This fire truck had a touching story connected to it. Off-duty firefighters, instead of going home, turned their fire truck around and went towards the danger. They sacrificed their lives helping others get to safety. And they were not the only ones who lost their lives doing so. Many first responders died on September 11th as they ran towards the danger. This is one of the last standing landmarks from Ground Zero. And you can see people put posters, words of encouragement, and then the actual names of different fire and police departments in New York with the number of lives that were lost. Now at the museum, people from around the world can also leave a memory, leave a note. And so this is kind of a digital map, and it shows messages from people who have visited and paid their respects. This was my note that still flashes as people walk through the museum. Here was another artifact that helped honor those whose lives were lost. This quilt, each square represents a life that was lost, and the colors are all based on if someone was a firefighter, a police officer, or just a pedestrian. And you can see that New York skyline in the background in the artwork of the quilt. This wall at the museum, they said, was made in blue, bright blue, to represent how beautiful that day started. And the quote, "No day shall erase you from the memory of time," reminds us why we talk about September 11th every year, and reminds us that the museum is not there to make us feel sad, although it is quite sad walking through. But it's there so that these people don't get erased from memory, and so that we can remember that their innocent lives were taken away too quickly. One thing that really touched me when I went on my visit was that the workers at the museum every day bring around a white rose and put it on the name of someone whose birthday it is. And so even though it's been years and years since these tragic events, that's still happening every day. So even though these events are scary and sad, and the country and the world mourned, it just brought about a lot of patriotism and a lot of togetherness and a lot of strength in our country. And I think that that's what the museum really showed. Thank you so much for taking a look with me through these pictures and just taking a moment to honor those whose lives were lost too soon.